Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another special episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast meets the Conversation Change Lives podcast. We are here with a very special guest, Joanna de Pena. How are you doing today?
I'm fabulous.
Fabulous. So you spoke with her first. So I'm going to let you two start this off with how you recognized her game, as we say, game recognizes game. You reached out, got a conversation going. Here we are in person talking about life. We had an hour-long preamble of just ridiculousness. So far, so good. We're all feeling good, and it's freezing out.
Beautiful. So, hey, everybody. Alan here. So Joanna or Joanna?
Joanna.
Joanna or Anna?
Anna.
Joanna. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to potentially screw that up again. I admitted that I would first. So we met. I was on Instagram talking to Saul Garcia. That's his last name, right? So he and I were friends at WPI, and he told me that I should reach out to you because we were two peas in a pod, as they say. And I immediately went to her page, and I was like, yeah, I have to meet this person. She's an educator. I am as well. And like Kevin said, game recognizes game. You help kids in high schools. That's a huge aspiration of mine. I'm more focused on college right now, but I knew that I wanted to meet you.
So tell us a little bit. You are the president of Top Notch Scholars?
The founder and president.
Founder and president. Can you just tell us, we know a little bit about it because we've done our research. We're sitting down with you. We've been talking about it. But tell the audience exactly what you're about. Why you started it. We'll start with what you're about, and then we'll get into the depths of why you started it and the motivations behind it.
Sure. So Top Notch Scholars is a nonprofit organization, and we are a leadership development organization. So we focus on developing our kids to be the best version of themselves. So we do workshops such as, interviewing 101, self-confidence, self-love, financial literacy, everything that, unfortunately, our school system do not really focus on.
Right.
So we focus on the betterment of the students.
Beautiful. When you said self-love, can you go into that? Because I don't think I've ever heard anybody that teaches self-love.
Yeah.
So what does that consist of?
Well, because especially in today's day and age, a lot of kids are focusing on, social media and getting the, if I don't have enough likes, I'm not beautiful. If this boy is not saying that I'm pretty, I'm not pretty. So our young people especially focus on other people in order to accept themselves. So we try to teach our kids at a really early age that you need to love yourself, because if you don't love yourself, then you're never going to feel love. So we got to start with the inner side.
I love that.
Of things.
Kevin, you and I talked about that on the last podcast a little bit. Extrinsic motivation versus intrinsic motivation. Like needing extrinsic validation is always going to keep you bound, because if you're always looking for someone else to approve of what you're doing, then if they don't, you don't do.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you teach high school kids that are juniors and seniors primarily, you said, so 15 to 16 years old.
Well, really anywhere from freshmen to seniors.
So in high school.
Yeah.
Awesome. You said that they get a certificate at the end of your program, 8-week program?
Yeah. So one of our programs is our Youth Leadership Academy, and that's an 8-week curriculum course that the kids come here once a week to take through our workshops, and also we have a community service component. So once they complete the workshops and the community service, at the end of the year we have a gala. And at the gala, it's this year, or last year, because now we're in January, but in 2017 it was a black and white gala. We had a red carpet, a nice, I'll step and repeat. The kids were just top notch, you know what I mean? And then we had some youth performances for the entertainment of the night, but it was really a night of celebrating excellence. And then at the end of the gala, every student that went through the program, which was 23 for last year, received a certificate of completion.
That's beautiful.
Celebrating excellence. So Socrates says excellence is a habit, or Aristotle, one of those two. I apologize to everyone if I screwed that one up. It's one of those two for sure. And I think that's true, right? Tony Robbins, you're a huge fan of as well, one of my heroes, he says that what you know doesn't matter unless it leaks into what you do. He says, what do you do consistently? So what are some of your experiences that you've had with these kids? And I guess the best question I could ask right now is, what changes do you see in them before the program versus after?
Yeah, it's tremendous, and I can go on for hours talking about the changes in these kids, but I'll give one example. One of our kids that started in our program in February, right? She came in here, she was in the back of the classroom, you know, always hiding behind her jacket. And I mean, you can tell that the self-confidence was not there, you know. She wasn't, social. She was just in the back. Now, it took a couple of classes for her to open up and started to engage with the peers, right? But towards the end of the program, this young girl just blossomed out of nowhere, started to intern with my best friend Jenny at JL Resin Company. Anytime that clients would come into our office, because we share spaces, she would greet them, she would give them a tour of our office. I mean, she was just shining. And actually, at our youth conference last year in November, you should have seen her. She was on stage. And let me tell you, I know that kids develop and grow and make changes, but to see something like that happen in under a year, I would have never thought that she would be on stage introducing Jenny. She had a whole speech, and it doesn't stop there. At our gala in December, she also was able to go on stage. It was just tremendous. That's just
awesome.
One of the amazing things that make me feel, you know, happy and proud. And I tell myself, I gotta keep pushing, because there's thousands and thousands of more kids just like that we can help, you know, get them to a better place.
So you were saying earlier how you think having a mentor or having somebody that you look up to is huge, and then you kind of went into the story of how you were younger and you had somebody that you looked up to, and that kind of shaped you to get to where you are now. So can you just speak on that a little bit?
I mean, since I was like 9 or 10 years old, I had this mentor. His name is Steve Kelly. Anyone from this Lawrence area knows this man. He's the associate director at the Lawrence Boys and Girls Club. And, you know, at an early age, you know, I've always knew that I wanted to be successful. And I would always ask him, you know, the question, you know, how can I be successful? And at a really early age, he told me, you know, hard work pays off. And that was actually our motto for basketball. Okay. Hard work pays off. Nice. You got to outbeat the other team. So for me, having that person telling me that, but not only just telling me hard work pays off, but he believed in me. He said, Joanna, I know you could be successful. And as a kid, I'm like, really? I could be successful? Like, that's literally how I felt. And so because he believed in me, I believed in myself.
Yeah.
So
you can almost transfer. It's almost like you can get a charge of a battery off somebody else's belief in yourself.
Yeah.
Like you can just get enough to get the wheels spinning, and then through your own practice, through your own exploration, then you realize, oh, you know what, I can do this. And then ever since, you've been doing it.
Yeah.
Well, and if I could just real quick, because he believed in me and I started to believe in myself, my game just went out of this world.
Right.
Because I had this confidence that on the court, I would work 10 times harder, and then I would see results. I was making those threes, you know, I was crossing up the girls, you know, and so I kept believing in myself, and then it just brought me to places that honestly I have never thought I would be in.
That's amazing. I always say that the most important thing, I believe, is our influences. So our heroes, who we look up to. I always say, you've probably heard that Tony Robbins quote. He says, where focus goes, energy flows.
Yes.
I say where admiration goes, energy flows. And so for your mentor, for example, if he hadn't led by example and worked hard himself, kids are smarter than we think. You know, if you are a teacher, an educator, and you're not leading by example, meaning you're not taking care of your health, your body, you're not, you know, working hard, you're sort of lazy, kids will pick up on that, even if it's subconsciously. So I always say a funny quote, if Tom Brady taught geometry in New England, every kid would know the Pythagorean theorem. So it's not just what you're learning, it's who you're learning from. Choose wisely.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I think that we talked about this in the last podcast. Growing up, I had trouble locating who I wanted to be mentored by, or who I thought was worthy of mentorship.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm saying. And even now, it's like when I look back, I don't really know. I had a strange-ish child upbringing. It was a broken home. There was some things, but now I notice that the people I latch on to, like I latch on to Alan. Alan's one of my mentors. I know he loves hearing it, so I'll tell him on the air, so it's recorded. But I think it's because
devious smile.
You have so much of what I lacked growing up. I lacked that self-belief. I lacked that self-confidence, and I still do. You know that. I have
sometimes,
days.
at times.
Yeah,
I
but
think it's getting much better.
Oh, for sure.
Progress and effort, man,
for sure.
through the roof.
It's different when we're on our way here. I'm not nervous.
Yeah.
like I'm not nervous. This is my thing.
The
So
private island party.
Yeah, this,
Right?
yeah.
Where we needed a password to
Yeah,
get in. I
we
brought
went-
Kevin
it
to
was
a
a whole
networking
thing.
event down the Cape Cod where you had to literally give a password to get onto a private island to get to this event. Kevin was like, "Oh my God, is this real?"
I was
Like, he was
terrified.
terrified the
I was
whole drive down
terrified.
there. It was. I'm like, "You're gonna be fine, man. You belong in this room."
I peel off my jacket. I have tattoos. Everybody else is just old and clean. And then they're just looking at me, you know.
Now you went and it was great.
Right.
So your brain will lock in on the
Right.
fact that I wasn't judged. Nothing bad happened. Like I actually met some great people.
Right.
And you do that enough. That's why putting in the reps is so important. Because
Yeah.
it's going to teach you like, oh, nothing. There is nothing to fear.
Right.
They call it exposure therapy. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think being in the right room, as you say.
Yeah.
Being around the right people, like Jenny for you, that must be huge. So you guys can't see her, but Joanna's best friend Jenny's next door.
Yeah.
And she was in here talking to us about her business and how she quit her job and started doing her own thing.
Yep.
And it's just, I saw a lot of Alan and I in Joanna and Jenny.
Yeah.
So it was very unique.
Yeah, because you were the one who had catalyzed her jump from corporate America to her dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to talk a little bit
For
about
sure.
that? I think so. Prior to this, we were talking about I think she was the mother of 3,
Yes.
right? She had been in corporate America working for, I believe, Comcast for 13 years. And she wanted to get into event planning and wedding dresses.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that you were the catalyst that got her to finally realize, like, it's time to move to my dreams.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, she had her business in Florida. She started from nothing because she lost her job. But when she came here, she relocated because of one of her children had needed surgery. So when she came here, she had to start from zero. And so when she came up here, she actually got a full-time job working in this Lawrence area. And then from there, she went down to a part-time job. And then I met her when she was at that part-time job, right?
Yeah.
But I was seeing that she was juggling her part-time job and then her business. And then I was seeing her, scrambling because, she's working both things and she was just losing it. And I was like, Jenny, you have potential sitting at the palm of your hands. And so it took a while to kind of put things in perspective. You sell 2 dresses or you do 2 events. Let's jump. And let's go full time on this. It's not an easy thing to jump because, of course, we need money to survive, unfortunately. And, her situation is different than mine. I don't have any kids yet. She has 3. So, her thought process is different.
For sure.
But we were able to kind of create a plan and say, hey, we need to produce X in order for you to be okay. And so the moment that we kind of saw the bigger picture, she jumped and went full time with her event business here, and she's been successful since then. So, she does events for quinceañeras, sweet 16s, weddings. She just opened up her boutique next door about a week ago where she sells dresses for quinceañeras, sweet 16s, and weddings. And not only does she does events here, but also in New Hampshire, in Boston. We just did an event in Florida. I mean, she travels everywhere. We just did an event also in New Jersey. So we're everywhere. And I'm her support, and she's my support.
I love it. That's so awesome. I kind of want to touch on something that's huge there is I always say you cannot transfer to someone else that which you do not have. Mm-hmm. So you talked about a mentor who got you to really believe in yourself. Mm-hmm. You started putting in the reps with basketball and like seeing results and then believing in yourself more and more and more. And you developed, I can tell you're very self-confident. If you didn't have that self-confidence, then perhaps you would not have been able to transfer that to your best friend who then took the leap. So I think that if you are out there and you are struggling with self-belief, self-confidence, if you want some extra why power to really start developing that, remember that you cannot transfer to others that which you do not have. When you look at someone else and you can believe in them, but it comes from a place of you believe in yourself too, it's going to be more powerful.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So there's a question that I want to ask you that I like asking people because it's a very unique question that I don't think people
Here it comes.
get asked very often.
I'm ready.
What do you hope to accomplish before you die?
Whew,
And
okay.
for this one, scoot up to the mic a little more.
Okay.
Yeah. Not your fault. I just want to, because
Okay.
we want to make sure we hear it. Cause
Yeah.
it's going to be good.
All right, before do we want to think about that? No. What I want to accomplish is many things. But I definitely want to get to the point where I'm impacting thousands of kids across the nation. And I just want to give back to poor countries. And coming back to the U.S., speaking about what I want to do here, is I just want to have a platform for kids, that if they don't have a mentor, that they have this platform that they can look up to, that they can attend events, they can get to know who they are and be successful. I just want to help people to become successful. And we all come from different homes. So I want to be that provider. And I want to leave a legacy of that.
Beautiful. So what, was there like a singular event in your life or the characteristics of your upbringing that made you want to help people, or did you said to me that this kind of all just like happened by chance? You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So getting into top notch and even motivational speaking, I was telling these two earlier that it happened by accident. When I went through my whole college experience, I graduated. I actually started a company before Top Notch Scholars, and so that's where my first entrepreneurial story came about. So I was actually invited to go speak at my middle school down the street, the Leonard School, to just speak about my college experience and my early business experience, and just being a Latina in Lawrence and being a business owner, and just kind of talk to the kids about how I did it, how I went about it, and what were my struggles, and kind of inspire the kids to reach their dreams. So. I went in there. I was nervous as heck. I was never a speaker. I just went in with a little note card, and I put a couple points on the board, and I just kind of winged it in a way because I didn't have the right trainings for it. So I went in and I spoke, and the responses of the kids were just so inspiring that I'm like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I mean, I always knew that I wanted to be a business owner. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be, a positive influence. And I was doing that prior to Top Notch Scholars. But when I saw the kids' eyes light up and asking these questions like, I never thought that I can be successful, or how did you do this, or how did you accomplish that? And I was able to give them those answers, being young. I mean, I'm 28, and Jenny and I always joke around that the kids, resonate so much with me because I look like them. I look like I'm 15. I have such a baby face, but you know what? Whatever,
Right.
That's a tool. But, they have someone that looks like them that,
that they can relate to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, from that moment on, I ran to my second mentor, Dr. Lindsay, who actually provided a scholarship for me for college. And I'm like, Dr. Lindsay, I just had this, experience speaking to the kids, and I told them the whole story about the experiences and how the kids really, believe in themselves. After my story, he goes, Joanna, I think you should start a nonprofit. I go, on what? Because I didn't know what a nonprofit was. As crazy as it is, we know what a nonprofit is now, but back then I didn't know what that was. I go, what is that? So he actually educated me on what I needed and the steps that I needed to put together in order to start this nonprofit organization. And he connected me to someone in his network that is an accountant. And that accountant then sat down with me and said, hey, I'm going to help you. So long story short, he put together the paperwork for me. We went through every step. And a year from that time that we met, boom, we had the 501c3. And I was like, great. Now I got to create services. Because it's literally building a brand new business from scratch. Then from there on, it's just.
And not knowing how.
Exactly. Yeah. So little by little, every step was a learning process. And.
So this is the theme I can already tell is self-confidence. Because if you didn't have the confidence both in yourself and from, you said it was Dr. Lindsay, that you could do this. Because the thing is like if you want to start a business, like honestly, if you have no idea how, if you're not confident that you're going to figure it out, you'll never start. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm just confident in myself that I know how to find answers, and I will get answers. So I feel like people, if they feel that they don't know how to do something, they need to be confident in themselves that they will find the answers, whether if it's asking a friend, Googling something online, or going to some type of networking event, or finding someone who's already doing it and learning from them. People need to just get out there and just do it, because that's the only way that you can find how to do what you need to do. Some people will just sit back and say, no, that's not for me. I don't even know how to start. Boom, door closed, and they just never do it.
The thing is nobody knows how to start before they start. Like, I always say, it's like you don't have to, in order to be great, what is it? You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that anyone who started a business, the last one that you said was the most important. Like, self-confidence is a huge theme here, but also mentors. Like, you keep mentioning mentors. The more successful people I meet who are entrepreneurial and who are chasing their dreams, the more I realize that it was mentors.
Yes.
Like, why isn't everyone talking about the power of mentors?
Because not everybody's experienced it.
I have 5 self-made millionaire mentors that are in person, And it makes all the difference in the world. Why? Because they've already done it. That last one you said is like, go ask a friend, Google it. And then you said, or find someone who's already done it and ask them.
Boom.
Get them to help you.
Yeah.
That last one, if someone's done what you want to do, they can teach you all the things they screwed up on, all the things that they learned along the way. Go ahead.
If I can just mention, not everyone has that.
Yeah.
So then
That's
have
what
people
you're trying to
who's-
provide.
They might say, well, where do I find that? I don't know anyone. That's why I say start off with asking people, going online, reading, and
Yep.
then if you push hard enough, you will come across, if you get into the right rooms,
Yes.
you will come across those people that have done or have accomplished something, and that may know someone that is doing a similar
Yeah.
thing. So it's all about, you need to keep pushing, you need to keep getting yourself out there.
Back to the gym references or gym analogies, because I am a meathead. What would you say to people that are afraid to? This isn't even an analogy. I don't know what I'm talking about. For people that are afraid to get out there and be wrong or ask questions, because
Yeah.
a lot of people are afraid to.
Intimidated.
Yeah, they're afraid to look dumb or to, you know what I mean. If you know something I don't know, it would behoove me to have the confidence to say, hey, I see that you know all about this, and I want to learn about it. What would you say to somebody who says, I'm just intimidated, I don't want to be wrong, I'm too intimidated to ask somebody?
I would just say change the mindset about that, because at the end of the day, if you don't know something, you have to ask. God forbid you might ask a question and you might think it's dumb, but at the end of the day, if you get the answer, you're winning.
Right.
Yeah. You're winning.
So
Yes.
not everyone thinks that, in the same levels or at the same time, but I always ask any and every question that comes into my head, because once you ask that question, you already know, all right, boom, I have to pivot.
Yeah.
Basketball.
Yeah.
Analogy.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you
love
gotta
it.
reps. Pivot.
Love it.
So you
I love
gotta
it.
pivot, and then now you're in the right direction. So if you can get all the dumb questions out of the way, well, guess what? Now you're on the right path.
Yeah.
So dumb questions or any questions just kind of help you clear out the things that the avenues and the paths that you shouldn't be going down anyways.
Right.
You know what I think it is a lot of us asked a dumb question when we were in middle school or high school or we were growing up, and we got made fun of for
I know
it.
you talked about that.
I do. So shout out to Mrs. Pryor, one of our high school math teachers. One of my early mentors, changed my life for sure. Not recently, 3 or 4 years ago when I was very successful in corporate America, I sent her, by the way, I don't know if I've told you this, like a page and a half letter that apparently she read in front of her class and cried reading, because I just told her that she made all the difference in the world. We used to go to math
That's
meets
huge.
together at WPI, ended up going to WPI. Yeah, she just believed in me. And honestly, she wasn't just teaching math, she was teaching life, which I think is so, so important. And so the thing that I really want to mention about Mrs. Pryor, big shout out to you, thank you so much, is I used to ask a lot of dumb questions, or quote unquote dumb questions. I got made fun of real bad one time where literally one of the more popular kids, who, not going to name any names, was a hell of a bully. I really don't like bullies. And he made fun of me. He's like, why you ask so many dumb questions? You're holding up the class, like all this stuff. And first of all, it's an AP calculus class, and I got a good grade. I don't even think he took the test. Whatever, you know what I mean? Still a little.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's some bitterness deep down
little
there.
bitter still in there. But like, she basically said she shut the whole class up because the whole class laughed at me, and I was really embarrassed. I was red faced, the whole nine. And she said, honestly, he's trying to learn, and that this is a good thing. And I'm glad that there are no dumb questions, because dumb
Exactly.
questions lead to good questions, and that's how
Exactly.
you learn. And that stuck with me forever. I remember one time, and I will be quick, the Mrs. Knapp's class, it was a statistics class, and there was like 30 people in it. And there was this one formula that didn't make sense to me. And one of my best friends, Keith Horton, still brings this up to this day. He's like, I couldn't understand what you were trying to say, but everyone was laughing at me. They said I was wrong. And I actually proved the textbook wrong. And so what I did is the whole class was laughing at me. This was a really hard time for me at this time. I went to Mrs. Pryor because she was my mentor, and I said, I'm telling you this is wrong, and I know it, and the whole class thinks I'm an idiot. Like, please come help me prove this. Mrs. Pryor came and proved it with me because she was the best math mind in the school at the time.
Wow.
And so always stick up for what you believe in, because even if you're wrong, you're going to either learn or you're going to be right.
Exactly.
And
Right.
you really do have to not be afraid to go against the herd. I think that's the very first time in my life where I really knew in my heart I have to stick up for what I believe in, even if everyone thinks I'm wrong, because I was right, and I literally proved the textbook wrong. I was 16 or 15, you know, and if that doesn't build self-confidence, I don't know what else
Right.
will, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. I've heard that story a million times, but
Oh, did you?
interesting.
But if I didn't have self-confidence, I would have just gone with the crowd.
Right.
And I would have never improved the textbook.
And
Right.
you would have stopped asking questions, and then you wouldn't be where you are today.
I wouldn't be where I am today, yeah.
I always say, so I went through the fire academy, and I use this as a story because this affected my life in a ridiculous way. I went through the fire academy. I was very self-conscious to ask questions. I didn't want to ask questions. I didn't want to look like an idiot in front of everybody. And I graduated the fire academy. I did really good on the tests. I was in like the top percentile of the class. But after we graduated, I did a little on-call work in my town, and I just didn't feel confident enough to try to chase being a firefighter because I didn't ask the right questions during the fire academy. So I was not confident enough to do the things I needed to do in order to better myself, in order to be the best firefighter I could be.
Yeah.
I mean, I ended up getting another job anyway, but the point is that my life could have been ridiculously different if I just asked the right questions.
Yeah. Because knowledge is cumulative. The more you know about one area, the more you can cross it. The more you know, the more confident you're going to be,
Right.
too. You know, because competence and confidence are like connected. The more competent you become at anything, the more confident you're going to get. But in order to become competent at anything, which means capable, you have to be confident first.
Yeah.
It's a weird little dichotomy.
We always say the world is set up in strange ways.
Yeah,
In
the
strange
universe.
ways.
The universe.
And the more I realize that visualization is important, visualizing your future, having intentions is something big that we talk about.
Yeah.
And Joanna, we have a piece of art here from one of your students that I wanted you to explain, and you can show it to the camera as well, explain how that came about and the reason behind it, what it means.
Yeah.
Sure. So basically, it's an artwork. I mean, I know that we're familiar with paint night, so we kind of incorporated art with leadership development, and we have this art piece that is called the Road of Life. And we have the child, kind of paint themselves in the corner because we want them to get the visual of what their road of life will look like. And we always say, hey, there's cliffs in the road, there's cracks, there's bumps, there's detours. But at the end of the road and along the road, we have mentors, we have our mothers, our neighbors, our family members, that when we get down and out, that don't forget that you have people in your life that you can look up to. Now, aside from having mentors and people that you can look up to, we help the child identify strengths of their own, because a lot of the times our kids, they don't think positive things about themselves. So we help them identify positive things about themselves that they can feel proud of. So for example, in this art piece, this young lady, one of her strengths is talent in art. Clearly, she's talented in art. Her second one is math. Third thing is giving help. After the strengths, we then help the child identify qualities of their physical being. Because again, our young people, because of social media and bullying and social pressures, right, they do not feel that they're good enough.
Yeah.
So for this person, she said that, some qualities that she loves about herself is her hair, her eyes, her dimples. I have dimples too. And her legs. So then on the other side of the road, we help the kids identify qualities of people to stay away from, because you need to control.
This one. Yep.
You need to control your circle. You need to control what goes in your bubble, what's around your bubble, and what's along your way.
Control your influences.
Exactly. So this person identified, got to stay away from negative people. Oh, that is such a big thing, man.
Yep.
You need to stay away from negative people. Stay away from bullies.
Stay away from bullies.
We know
That's a
that,
good
right?
Yeah, that's a good segue.
Because bullies keep you down, and
Yeah.
they shoot all of your dreams, and they just, they don't make you feel great. Debbie Downers, people who always complain.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
away from those people.
Yeah, for sure. Complaining is a disease,
I always
and you will
say-
catch it.
I always say I'm allergic to negative people, bullies, and Debbie Downers. Like, I'm just, stay away. And then the fourth thing we help the child identify is at least one proud moment. Why? Because our kids accomplish great things, honor rolls, athletic accomplishments, many, many things. But those accomplished habits, and not all the time do they get recognized or even applauded. So the kid kind of accomplishes something, they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they go throughout their whole entire life, and they don't feel proud about themselves.
Yeah. Yep. And you
They're like,
can't
yeah, I'm
build
no
on
one.
inadequacy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for this young lady, her proudest moment is her speech at her 8th grade graduation. And she told me that it was huge because she's never spoken in front of a large crowd of people. And so she was very proud of that. And then at the end of the road, we have a quote that's on every single painting, and it says, "I will be successful no matter what obstacles come my way."
And then they sign it?
And then they sign it.
Ah, yes.
I love it.
I wish I did this when I was 15.
Right?
They're their own celebrity.
You know? They're their own celebrity.
Yeah.
I like it. You got to be the hero of your own story
Joe
as
Rogan.
one of his
Joe Rogan.
heroes.
The author of your own book.
Yeah, the author of your own
Yeah.
book. Yeah, beautiful thing. We got to teach more kids this stuff. What book was I reading? I think it was Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. It talks about neuroassociations, and how you feel about yourself is not actually circumstantial. It's based on, the ratio is 5-to-1, positive to negative, in order to have a good. So he talks about it in relationships. So basically, I'll try to make this quick, the science behind it. I'm big into neuroscience for anyone who knows me. So they found that they could put couples in a room, intimate couples, married couples, and within the first 30 seconds, they could guess with 90% accuracy whether or not they'd still be together within 15 years. And the number one reason why they could tell is contempt and criticism, which what they found is that if the amount of negative looks toward one another or negative emotions felt by one another was any less than 5-to-1, positive to negative, that couple wouldn't last. And I took that and I thought to myself, like, okay, self-talk, like how much do we criticize ourselves versus praising ourselves? Because I think we're kind of taught not to be proud. Like, growing up, people were like, don't be arrogant, don't be arrogant, don't be arrogant. Like, arrogance is when everything's about you. But that doesn't mean you can't have confidence, which only comes when you actually are happy about what you do. I always say, if you're going to feel like shit about all the bad things you do, you better feel extra good when you do something good.
And even our kids, when they do accomplish, something just like a speech or they win a basketball game, unfortunately, a lot of the homes that exist, they don't even show up. So if your own people, your own family, your teachers or whoever don't show up to a speech, to a game, you as an adolescent, you are not going to feel proud or even excited. You might see your friends and their parents cheering them on, but what about when you don't have no one cheering you on?
Yeah.
And that's a killer right there.
Another reason mentors are so critical, because mentors will cheer you on.
Exactly.
Yeah, and being around self-confident people, this is another, aha moment for me right in this moment. People who are self-confident aren't afraid to give credit where it's due. They have praise to give. Whereas if you're around someone who doesn't feel good about themselves, even if you do something great, they're not going to encourage it because they're not going to be able to. They're going to feel like, oh, why aren't I doing that or whatever. They're going to make it about them somehow. So insecurity and lack of self-confidence, it spreads.
And I'll take it a step further.
Yeah.
That child that has no parents in the bleachers or have no one really praising the great things that they're doing, how about that same child who has that circle of friends who are making fun of them, bullying them? Now this child is surrounded by negativity and no support. Therefore, that child will not be confident and will not have any desire to do anything in life because you know what? I'm no good. They're telling me I'm no good.
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough. And my mom or my dad, they don't even care.
Right.
Yeah.
So just imagine what psychological space this child is in.
Yeah.
And they won't have the self-confidence to seek
get out
out
of
somebody
that.
who will mentor them.
See? And that circles back to your first question, or one of your questions, which was like, how do you get someone to not be intimidated?
Right.
Of course they're going to be intimidated. They have no idea how to approach someone like that. And they see them as this positive person that somehow is above them. It's not true. And by the way, I want everyone to really know this. Like, anyone who is self-confident and who is happy and like on their mission, they're going to be glad that you came to them to ask questions. They're going to remember when they had a dark time and that they wish they had asked, or like when someone was there for them, and they're going to want to be that person. I always say that all of us at some point in our life needed someone else to believe in us more than we believe in ourselves. And you can be that person anytime someone comes up to you. Remember that. Somebody messaged
me the other day on Facebook, and they said, I would like you to help me change the way I think. And then they didn't answer me when I said, how are you thinking? I was so excited. I was like, this is going to be awesome.
You can tell I was excited.
I was so excited. So I'm sure they will reach out. But
no response again.
Asking for help can be really hard.
I love it.
It can be really hard.
I use an analogy, the steamboat. Picture self-esteem as the steam to power your dreams. The oceans are rough, okay? You need a destination, vision. Otherwise, you're a captain just floating around. But you got to have steam, self-esteem. to power your dreams. When the waves come crashing in and the storms of life happen, is your self-esteem big enough to where you can get through those storms? Because if not, you're just going to stop and become immobilized.
And you're just going to float in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you're just going to float wherever your
Wherever the
influences
tide
take you,
goes.
wherever the tide
Yeah,
goes.
look at you and analogies.
Well, you know.
Look at you.
You spend time with people who use analogies, you end up using analogies.
I love analogies. I wanted to ask you, what's all right? So, your self-confidence. Did you have that before you found a mentor? What was your upbringing like?
I mean, honestly, my upbringing was great. So, I mean, I have a supportive mom, actually, and I had an amazing dad as well. But unfortunately, when I was 9, he had a stroke. So I actually didn't have a father figure, from 9 years old and on, because they left him paralyzed, and he actually ended up in a nursing home. But luckily, I was blessed with that mentor at Boys and Girls Club, because he became that father figure to me. So I feel that I've always been a very competitive person. I grew up with brothers and stuff, so I was always playing basketball or break dancing or being the best. Like I was always trying to be better than them. But I feel that I've always had some sort of confidence. But having that mentor telling me, I believe in you, you're great. Keep up the good work on the basketball court. Keep up the good work in the classroom, because I had, A's and B's. So for me, doing what I had to do and having that reassurance from my mentors and even my mom, I feel that built up a stronger self-confidence in me, that I built an internal self-confidence. So from there, I just translated that through my whole entire life. And I was going to mention earlier that, even the most confident person, even the most strong-minded person, that we still have downtime. We still get, days and times that, we have that split second that we don't believe. We have that split second that we're sad.
Oh, those seconds.
Yeah.
I hate
But
those seconds.
feel like it's the end of the world.
Yep.
Yep. And it feels like they'll last forever.
I want people to understand that as successful as, other people may seem, or, understand that we still go through the same battles. It's not saying, oh yeah, I'm super self-confident, so I don't have any downtimes, or I don't, have any moments I don't believe in myself. I do. There are moments that I'm like, man, can I really do that? Or man, this is not working. Forget about that. Like I have plenty of moments, but the big key is when you have those moments, how do you pick yourself up?
Yeah. How do you handle them?
How do I handle them? I may shed a couple of tears here and there. I may, block people out for like a day or two, but I get myself together. I listen to music, I work out, I go for a run, I go for a bike ride, I do things that I love, and I get myself back. What people don't do is that they get into that dark hole, and they just live in that dark hole forever. But we all, even I guarantee that Eric Thomas, Tony Robbins, I guarantee that they have their dark days.
For sure.
But they have the mental capacity to get themselves out of there. And that's what we all need to learn, is how do you get yourself out of there, because we all go through that.
So that's a great point to make. I think we should kind of each maybe go into how I have a specific regiment when I'm down that I literally like.
Please share it.
Yeah, I think we all should.
Sure.
Like I always try to tell people, like, Kevin and I are out here podcasting, talking about self-confidence. We seem so confident maybe, but you got to remember that you're looking at the polished product. Mm-hmm. And we're all a work in progress, so we're going to keep getting better. But that's the problem with social media, especially like Instagram and stuff. With fitness, we deal with this all the time. You're looking at not only a polished product, but in some cases, one that's on drugs, steroids, right? And so that makes you feel even less capable, even less significant, right? And so all of them started somewhere, though, and I don't want to sit here and pretend that I'm always confident. I don't have those dark days. When they do come, for me personally, I have to take some time alone in solitude. I have to journal. I have to look up some of my heroes. Greg Plitt, Tony Robbins, Steve Jobs. I'll watch videos for hours on end, The Rock especially. For hours on end, I'll just watch them. And I'll remember that I'm capable of that too, that they must have gone through dark moments. And then I start with the smallest discipline. To me, the only way to build my self-esteem that isn't external validation is to say, I'm going to go do this. Even if it's something as simple as I'm going to drink some water. I'm going to go to the gym for 15 minutes. I'm going to, whatever it is, I just get the steam rolling as far as self-discipline, because to me, if I say I'm going to go do something and then I follow through, I get a little bump in self-esteem. And then I do the next biggest thing. and then I get another bump in self-esteem, and it just compounds, and eventually you have the full steam boat, and you're just going full momentum forward, and then you kind of like have this wave of success for a while, and then all of a sudden you kind of like stop doing the things that got the steam rolling, right? And then it's cyclical. So then you eventually learn, like, okay, I got to always do those self-disciplines, because honestly, if you want to feel good about yourself, your brain is a lot smarter than you think. If you're not following through on your heart's desires, your heart and your brain and your body and soul know that. So you really do have to start putting in the reps, whatever those are for you. And for me, that's my darkest moments. I need some solitude, find myself, maybe bask in that pain a little bit, understand why it is the way it is, and then move forward with the smallest discipline.
Joanna, what about you?
I love it. Very, very, pretty similar actually. So for me, when I get into my dark moment and things are not going the way that I want it to, if it's a nice day outside, I have a mountain bike. So I would just ride through the city, put in some headphones, put on like my best playlist, and I would just ride for literally like 2 hours. I would do like 8 miles in a day, and I have proof on my phone. I literally ride, and I'm out by myself for 2 hours, listening to music, listening to podcasts, and I have a few spots in this area that, you know, one is a Castle Methuen, which you might know where it is.
Yeah, actually I do. Yeah.
I might go there. I might go near the waterfall in Lawrence, and there's some other, you know, hidden spots that I like to go and just sit and just breathe. I just breathe, and honestly, whatever's bothering me, I take that solitude time, and I try to think of solutions, because I think that a lot of us in this world, when we have this dark spot, all we think about is the problem. I'm never going to get out of this. I'm never going to get out of this. But what we fail to do, what I find is that very little times do people think of solutions. So I always say that I have a solution-based mindset. If I have a problem, I will literally do what I have to do, either work out or go for a ride, and I will sit down and I will think. And I would just think for hours. You know what, this is a problem, maybe I can do this, this, and this. And I would take those 3 things, and then I would try to implement it that week. So if it's, you know what, I'm going to email this person, see if they know how I can get this, whatever it is. But I try to map out the next few steps that I have to do. And once I start implementing those steps, I start getting my momentum back. Oh, wow, a breakthrough. Oh, wow, I met someone else, you know. So it's really important to spend me time. We all need that me time. Disconnect from social media. Disconnect from people at times.
For sure.
You know, because we need to take in that life. And then the last thing that I do is I think about things that I'm grateful of.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yep.
I have a plan, and I'm like, man, I got this, all right?
Yep.
I have a plan. I'm confident now. And then I'm like, you know what, though? I'm here. I'm alive. I'm breathing. I'm healthy. You know, I have things going for me. I have things going for the community. And once you feel that gratitude, you kind of forget about why you were so upset. Because there's so many things in this world to be so grateful of. My family, my mom, my 5-year-old nephew who's amazing. You know, I'm in school for my PhD. Like, there's so many great things that's happening in my life that there's no way that I'm going to allow this one thing that's bothering me take me off my course.
Oh, I love it.
Beautiful.
That's so good.
It is. In
And
retrospect, I should have gone first because you guys. You know what I'm saying?
One of the things that I really want to harp on there is, remember when you're watching social media that you're not seeing posts necessarily of people that are in those moments. You know why? Because we're seeking solitude, trying to get back to our best. Now, here's the thing, 2 things that you mentioned that I think a lot of achievers do, successful people, self-confident people. Number 1, you got out of your head and into your body. That's why we use the gym whenever we're in a down place, because fear is a physical experience. And the best way to get rid of fear is to get the blood flowing, to get back in your body and out of your head. And number 2 is gratitude. The neuroscience shows that it's impossible to be grateful and fearful simultaneously. And at the end of the day, we're all just afraid we're not good enough. I remember there was an Oprah quote recently that I mentioned to you guys earlier that said, honestly, all people want the same thing. They want 3 things. Number 1, did you hear me? Did you see me? And is who I am affecting you in a positive way? And at the end of the day, when we're most fearful, it's that we're not good enough. We're not enough. We're not going to be loved. We're going to lose love. And when you get into your body with an intense workout, or you start being grateful, the fear dissipates and you start thinking of solutions.
Something clear.
You start thinking clearly. And so remember that social media is going to be most people's up moments. Doesn't mean they don't have down moments. Trust me. Go ahead, Kev.
Mine is just kind of random, believe it or not. So I
We still love
find,
you.
I appreciate that. I find that my stress changes dramatically. It depends on where I am geographically. That. It depends on what I have going on in my life. Like my life is so one week to another week to another week. I could be in a different state. I could be somewhere else. I could be doing this. I could be doing that. So I guess I don't have a legitimate regimen. Yesterday would be a good example.
Yeah.
I had a terrible week at work. I got home last night. Alan called me. Alan's always in a good mood when he calls me. Every single time. And
I
he's
appear
like, real quick,
that way.
real quick. And I know it's not going to be. It's not gonna be that at all.
Not going to be real quick.
So we're in the middle of the conversation, and I just said, Alan, I just got to get after it here. Like, I got to get in the gym.
Yeah.
I got my boxing gloves. I got my headphones. I'm ready to get after it. And I just slammed the bag for like an hour. I just let it all out. Felt great afterwards.
Intense workout.
But I work out all the time anyway, so I forget that gives me that release. I'm so used to going to the gym.
So
That's
you're
what I
doing
do.
it unconsciously, but
Right.
But that's actually a level of mastery. Unconscious competence, meaning you do know how to get yourself out of a stressful, overwhelmed, fearful state. You just don't know that you
Right.
know, which is
Right.
but you
It's a
do
great
that.
habit.
He literally said to me, we're on the phone. He's like, I got it. And I was like, yeah, totally.
Right.
I can tell.
Yeah.
You know, I know your tone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, he's not.
And I get after it.
yeah.
There was
and all I was talking about was overwhelming him even more.
pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Tomorrow
Yeah.
and like all this
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, yeah. By the way, the 13th and the 20th
Yeah.
and all.
He just
yeah,
throwing
yeah,
dates
you,
at
you
me
go
and-
do you. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that for me, fitness is huge. Obviously,
Yeah.
whether it's fitness or whether it's writing, like I like to write. I like to write music.
For
and
sure.
It helps me just kind of let my emotions out. And I feel like that's even doing something like this. Like when we leave, I will have a high from this for sure. Like
Yeah.
I get high from podcasting. I just do. I get super happy, and it sets the tone for the rest of the weekend. Hopefully for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
That's the intention I'm trying
Or
to
you
set.
just gotta come back, and then we'll get.
I will.
Back.
I would
Yeah.
love to.
Oh, yeah.
So far, so good. It's been a joyous time.
It has.
I think I don't really have. I just kind of do what I feel like doing. And I also, one thing that I think people need to practice and need to stay conscious of is proving the machine wrong. So we were talking earlier about the
Ooh.
machine.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, the machine is the voice that says it's 0 degrees. Don't get up at 6 o'clock and go to the gym like we did today.
Yeah.
Things like that. When
It's too dark. We're too tired.
it's to this,
Yeah.
this, yeah.
Yeah.
When you have to fold your laundry and you've convinced yourself it's going to take you 45 minutes to fold it, the machine is winning.
Yeah.
You got to prove the machine wrong, and then you'll realize, okay, this really isn't that big of a deal.
And you
Don't
do
let the
that by
machine
doing
win.
it
Right.
and realizing, oh, it's only 10 minutes.
Yep.
And why did I make it's called the spotlight effect. It's neuroscience. We overwhelm ourselves with the smallest task, and it makes it into this huge mountain when
Yeah.
in reality it's mountains out of molehills. And then when you go and do it, you realize it was a molehill.
Right.
You're like, oh, what other mountains
And
are
you
actually
kind of feel
molehills?
stupid.
Yeah.
I feel stupid. I'm like, why did I? I just wrecked my whole day. I put this all day, and it took 10 minutes.
yeah. Yeah.
We just overthink things.
We do.
And we need to just take it one step at a time.
We do.
One step at a time.
I had somebody one time, I was speaking with a woman, and she said, Kevin, you overthink everything. And I said, yes, I do, but that also has made me who I am. Like, there's a reason we were on the highway, and I had snow stuck in my rim, and we had to pull over 3 times. 3 times on the way here.
On the way
we
here.
were still here
Yeah.
right when I said we were going to be.
At
Because
11. Yeah, we were on the dot.
because I overthink things. I'm a logistics person. I'm a time guy. I make sure everything is the way it should be.
Yep.
Hopefully my boss isn't hearing this because I was 4 minutes late to the job the other day, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
I'm sure he'll let it slide since it's the first and only
I
time
hope
you'll
so.
ever
I
be
hope so.
late.
I hope
I was
so.
very impressed. Yeah, because a lot of things went wrong on the way here.
Yeah.
We still got here 11 on the dot.
And the thing is, if you don't plan for it, if you don't
Right.
plan for things to happen, that will affect. So, we're gonna be a half hour late now. So we come in, we're not excited, we're stressing.
Right.
You
True.
can sense the stress because you can sense things in
It's
people.
the first time we meet, so I'm like,
Right.
yeah.
Here we are dragging ass in 20 minutes late. Oh,
yeah.
no.
Very professional.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I
for
think
sure.
that's part of who I am.
Yeah.
I overthink things, but I don't think I would trade that.
But I think you overthink things to become more conscious of why things are the way they are,
I
so
do.
that you can have power over them.
Yeah.
exactly, to
I
be
do.
the best.
To be the best
Yeah.
version of yourself,
Yeah.
for sure. But you also got to know when to stop thinking and start acting.
Yeah.
Right. It's the best of both worlds.
It's a fine line.
as they say.
It's a fine line.
It's the name of my book, The Best of Both Worlds. Yeah. How to have it all by becoming it all.
Yeah, that is Alan's motto.
Yep.
I want to so you were talking about bullying.
Yes.
What advice do you give people who are getting bullied? Like, how do you get, because they feel helpless.
Yeah.
How do you make them feel like they're in charge of what's going on in their life?
Yeah, honestly, bullying is such a big epidemic right now, and unfortunately, it's hard. It's one thing to, advise a kid to do something or to think a certain way, but we also have to recognize that it's hard because it's in their face. So one thing that I like to tell our young kids is, you know what? Analogy here. Think of bullies like a wave. The bullies will get big at their peak as long as you give them attention. Ignore them. Walk away. Smile. Compliment them. Because the moment that you don't give in to that big force, they're going to crash and just go away. So I love to tell our kids that when people are in your face, calling you names, or just being not a nice person, just understand that, man, you know what? They might be going through something. You know what? Can I help you? Or what? Like, question them. Do you really have to be that way? Because once a bully is questioned, or they kind of question themselves, they don't like conflict. They don't like confrontation. They like to be mean and just,
they like to dominate.
I'm big and you're nothing. But when you stand up tall with your chest up and you're like, really? The bully's gonna be like, whoa, they're not letting me be that big bad person anymore.
Yeah.
So stand up, smile, and just let it slide. Let the bully go away themselves, because you know what? All they're doing is they're trying to get attention. And if you give them that attention of crying, being hurt, they're going to keep coming to you. They're like mice and cheese.
Yeah.
They're going to keep coming to that because you keep feeding them. Some kids fight the bully. That's food right there.
Yeah.
That's what the bully wants, because they want to fight and they want to win.
And then they're going to get more attention from everyone else because there's a fight.
Now there's a crowd. Oh, I'm popular now.
Right.
No, don't give them that attention. Just let them go. They're probably hurt inside. And the reason why they're acting that way is probably because they are hurting inside, and they're trying to find some type of avenue to feel good.
Right.
To feel big and great.
So true.
That's more of bullying is a reflection on how the bully feels more often than not.
Yeah, it's a place of insecurity, inadequacy. And maybe they were bullied at home. You don't know what their home life was like, so. It's
so deep, because we don't know what that bully
Right.
is going through or has gone through.
Yeah.
And we don't know why they're doing it. All we see is the polished product, and that's that bully making fun of other people.
Yeah.
But we don't know what's behind that broken glass. And eventually, they get that help.
What do you think about bullies come off as confident? I think it's important to tell people that people who need to bully are doing it because they're actually not that confident inside. Because really confident people don't need to dominate anyone.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a huge distinction.
Well, they use people who are, that can't stand up for themselves.
Yeah.
So they know that this person may not stand up and, tell them to stop. They know that this person is not going to go tell on the teacher. So they know that they need to feel confident, because by them doing that, they're winning. And that's how they feel confident. Ooh, I'm big and bad. That is their confidence, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But maybe they're struggling in math. I bet you if you see that bully, and if they're not that great in math, they're not doing that great. They're not up and trying to, make a scene. They're going to be nice and quiet.
Right.
Such a good
You
point.
know what I mean?
Right.
Talk about more why power to have self-confidence and to work on self-confidence. I always tell everyone that my girlfriend I've never met someone so self-confident. She actually got pulled over last night, and the cop ended up walking away like, all right. Like, I'm my bad. She's like, I got a dash cam. He's like, you cut me off. She's like, I got a dash cam. Like, I couldn't have. Like, this is a new car. Like, this. She didn't even have an inspection sticker yet.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, babe, like, she called me last night. Tell me about this. I'm like, see, nobody wants to debate with you. You're very, very good at it. I'm like, try dating you, and she's getting better at it because she's dating me. So it's a beautiful thing. But she's just so self-confident. And honestly, bullies are not going to come to you if they sense that from you.
Exactly.
Because they
They'll
know
go
they
for the
can't.
weak link,
Yeah, they're going to go
They're
for the
not gonna
weak link.
fight.
Make sure you're not the weak link, because if you're confident in who you are, they won't even attack you anymore.
Exactly.
That's the quickest way to get rid of them. Work on yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a weird
Or
thing.
just challenge them.
Yeah.
Just smile.
I wish I knew
Really?
that. When I think about when I was bullied most back in those days, I was at my least confident. Oh, man. These distinctions that we just don't know.
Did you deal with a lot of bullying?
Oh, yeah, man. Only for a couple years. So 7th grade through 9th grade. Everyone else hit puberty. I'm a late bloomer like you. I still look 15. and I'm hoping
Still
to get
do.
my first pit hair. Yeah, I'm
We both
hoping to
look
get hoping to get my first pit hair by next year. But seriously, like I grew, I think 11 inches my junior year, right before I actually started dating Jenny, and before that I was like 5'2". I was just very, very undeveloped, and I felt inadequate. I was red-faced and kind of insecure. It was definitely a rough time for me.
Joanna, did you experience bullying?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Spanish, and so Spanish people are typically short, right? But even though I went to a predominantly Spanish school, I was actually 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I remember in my school, the boys, and especially the boys, making fun of people like me, because I'm short. And so for a really long time, like, I felt bad, but then, like, the moment that, like, I started to play basketball and, people started to know me, I turned that whole shortness into, like, something great. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm short, and I'm also quick, and I'll beat you on the court. And never again.
And it even
never
rhymes,
again.
kind of.
As a matter of fact, I actually, and I'm going to send this podcast to this kid. This one kid, he was a bully in the sense of he always thought that he was better at basketball than me. And he would always, like, talk smack every day. Oh, I'll beat you. I go, all right. So this one day I got fed up. And I go, you know what? Meet me at the basketball court outside at the school, and we'll see. And he's like, all right. He was so confident. He told all his friends, literally, I wish we had, like, smartphones and stuff so I can, like, document this thing. We literally had the whole basketball court, like, surrounded by students and a couple of teachers. Literally, the whole court was just filled. And it was literally for just this one-on-one.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, whatever. And I kid you not, I have witnesses. And I wish we could have recorded it. But we had witnesses where, all right, so I had the ball, right? So we were playing. And clearly I was beating him because he wasn't even a basketball player, but he was just whatever. So I had the ball.
A little bitterness there.
Yeah,
I had the ball at one point.
We're digging.
And I don't know where it came from, but I did this move, this crossover move. And I went like this. And I went right through my legs. And he fell. Literally, he fell on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
And I went and I did a layup. I looked back, and he was still on the floor, and he was going like this. And I'm like, yo, you good? So I helped him up. And you ready for this? I noticed that I broke the sole of his shoe.
Ooh.
You know how
Yeah.
there's a sole? So
In basketball, they call it breaking their
Yeah, he
legs, the
broke his-
defender's legs.
broke his
Well, breaking
ankle.
the ankles, but not only
Yeah.
did I break his ankles, I broke the sole of his shoe. So as he's walking home, his shoes were flapping.
Yeah, talking
And
shoes.
never again did he ever.
You just
Talk
proved
smack.
him.
You
Yeah,
Never
you just
talk
proved
smack.
him wrong.
Well,
Yeah.
you just did what you told other people to do, which
Right.
is stand up to them.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And in worst case scenario, even if he were to beat you in basketball, you're gonna feel self-esteem for standing up for yourself.
Exactly.
Believing in yourself. That's so huge.
Yeah.
This is a great podcast.
For sure. I never really got bullied. Like, I have all the cases to get 5'5". You know what I mean? I've never. One person called me 4 eyes one time right after I got glasses. Other than that, nobody's ever really bullied me.
Everybody always liked you a lot, man.
Well, I also have
Were
been.
you a popular?
Yes.
I don't
He's not
think
gonna
I
say he
was.
was, but
I
yes,
don't
for
think
sure.
I was.
He was jacked in high school.
I did get accused of steroids.
Gonna mess with you if you're
Yeah.
jacked.
Everybody.
He got accused. Of
I got accused of steroids
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
Like on message boards from baseball teams. It was a whole thing.
You were also great at sports.
I was good at
You were
sports.
great at shortstop.
I was good at
baseball.
sports.
Yeah. For
But
sure.
I never really got bullied.
Yeah.
And
I'm
I
very
think playing sports or just being involved helps you become more confident.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing a sport like basketball or lifting weights or
Yeah.
whatever, you're already associated to a greater force, a team,
Yeah.
a family.
Yeah.
And so you already have that love. Kids that are not involved in anything and then they get bullied, like they don't really have
Right.
a place to go, So
And back to mentors. Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
always say that-
Coaches. Yeah. And self-discipline. Are you kidding?
Exactly.
Putting in the reps, like whether it's no matter what sport. Yeah.
And I
Keep
always
going.
say that not everyone has the ability to play a sport or do something.
Yeah.
But I would say if you're not an athlete, at least do something. Do you like art? Join a community
Totally.
organization.
Hobbies.
Do community
passions,
service. Do
yeah.
something.
Something that you can
Paint.
improve and build on.
Exactly.
Like a skill set that you value,
And
that
hone
you
on
value, and hone on it, master it, and then that will bleed into who you are. If I was a master pianist, which one day I do want to play the piano, by the way, like that's gonna be part of me, and it's gonna fill me up. It's nice to know that you're the master of something.
We're all like video game characters. really, we are. Here we go. Analogy.
Yeah.
No, but we start somewhere, and you pick up whatever that is. So in school, whether it was maybe you picked up getting bullied and I didn't.
yeah,
That might have taken away from your energy level. Then you get to the next level where it's work. You're still getting bullied.
Yeah.
So now that is a theme in your life. That is a patch on your uniform. I don't have that patch on my uniform.
Yeah.
So when I get to the next level of my life, it's going to be easier for me. That's why you have to check in with yourself. You have to be conscious, hyper conscious of what's going on, why you're feeling the way you're feeling.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to give you advice and you say, I don't know, I don't have the self-confidence that I need. Life is such a finite experience that your experience and my experience will very, very rarely ever be the same. Probably never.
Yeah.
How many people have the same
I
lives?
think there's a lot of common patterns.
There is.
But yeah,
But there's so many,
Yeah.
something's that you heard from somebody may have shaped the way you think.
For sure.
It's so hard to diagnose your thoughts, to diagnose your issues, to diagnose your feelings. But you have to dig to do it. You have to feel pain sometimes to do that.
Yeah, well, that's why the name of my podcast is Conversations Change Lives,
Right.
because when you talk to other people, get their perspective, and you add it to yours, like, for example, we've been bullied, you haven't, like, now you're taking all
Right.
the value from those experiences.
Right.
You didn't even have to go through it
Right.
yourself, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I got the cheat
Right?
code.
I do think that emotion's powerful, so, like, the way I got laughed at in class, you could feel that in me, even that
Right.
resentment that we just felt, and I felt a little from you there,
Right.
too. It's still inside of us. Isn't that kind of crazy? I wouldn't consider myself a resentful person, but I was talking about that incident and I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
there's some hate there. I got to get rid of that, you know? And the only way to do it is to talk about it. Dig it up.
That's what we're
Express it.
doing.
That's what we're doing.
So last week we talked to some younger generation folk.
Yes.
You guys were talking earlier and you said you wanted to ask her a question and I said, don't you dare, save it for after when we're doing the podcast.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
remember?
So there was two questions. So one of them was I want to ask you what you would tell your high school self, for sure. And the other one was, in your experience, how do we... I always say you cannot influence someone unless you know what already influences them. For me personally, I know that a lot of younger people really, really care about being physically fit. So if I'm physically fit, I know that I am going to have more ability to get their attention, and maybe they'll take away some of the more deeper things that I like to talk about. For you, you're on the ground floor, you're teaching kids day to day. What do you think is an important takeaway on like how you can really influence someone in a positive way who maybe hasn't had mentors or maybe isn't thinking consciously yet, hasn't really been awakened yet?
Well, as far as youth, I think one of the biggest things that helped me is that they can relate, right? So if I'm in the Lawrence area or any urban area, and I can do well in other areas as well, but focusing on what we do here, they can relate to me because I am Latina, and majority of my demographic is Latinos. I'm young, I'm a woman, and I grew up in the same playing field as them.
Right.
So it's not like I grew up somewhere else with everything given to me. No, like I literally grew up where you grew up, in the same streets, in the same school system, under the similar circumstances. Therefore, if I can do it,
Right.
you can
You're
too.
the prototype.
Yeah, all the rationalizations are gone. The excuses of like, oh, well, you know, I heard one time, and this is totally random, I'll circle back, The Rock's father was in wrestling, so that's why he's The Rock. I'm like, that's not why he's The Rock. He would have found something else. Like, he's The Rock. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like you get rid of all the excuses when you grew up in the same place. And that's why I think mentors are even more powerful, and this is the real takeaway, is when I remember when I first met my fitness coach, Nate Smithson, I truly knew wholeheartedly, like I could tell by the way he was and the way he talked about it, that he was natural. And once I realized he grew up in the same town, he was natural too. He was also a basketball player. Like there was so many common denominators that any of my excuses for not being in shape were gone.
Right.
That's what mentors will do. They are living, breathing proof.
Yep.
That when you learn their backstory and realize that they had a messed up upbringing too,
Exactly.
and that they had no money too, and that they have dark moments too, all your excuses go to the wayside, and now you not only have someone who can help you and support you and learn from, but you now get out of your own way too.
Yeah.
Well, check this out, right? So I grew up without a father. I grew up in low-income housing. I'm a woman, which that's a whole bunch of barriers right there. There's gangs and there's violence in the city. The school system back then was not that great. So when I talk to the kids today, I'm like, what's your excuse? Because even if you're growing up with a single parent, that doesn't matter, because who's in charge of your success is not whether you had one parent, two parents or no parents or where you grew up. It's you.
It's the person in the
And
mirror.
so for me, I always tell them, take the excuses, roll them up and throw them out the window, because your excuses are just giving you an opportunity to make you feel great. Make you, validate, oh, well, that's why I'm not successful, or that's why I'm not
Validate doing
anything.
less.
They're just validating.
Validating being
take
less.
it out. Take it out, because the more you try to validate why you're not doing this or why you're not doing that, you're never going to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
So I've had literally pretty much almost all of the barriers that majority of our kids go through in an urban setting or even in an affluent setting, all right? Because even in other areas, there's different struggles, So what's your excuse? Because I always say I'm allergic to excuses.
I love it.
You know what I mean? So don't give it to
Excuses
me.
be gone.
And so when our kids give me an excuse, I go,
Oh, yeah.
wait a second, what was that?
It's nice to have
Tough
people,
love, though.
to be around people that won't accept excuses.
Right.
Like, I always harp on him, and he harps on me when we say the word can't. I always say in the Marines, you're not allowed to say the word can't, and you have to drop and give 50 push-ups or whatever it is. Because self-actualizing people never question whether or not something's possible, because it's always impossible till someone does it. They only question whether or not they want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to do something, you can do it.
Yeah,
It's
you'll
just a
figure it
matter
out.
of how do I figure out how to do that. It's like, if you always thought, like, this is impossible, we would never, the horse would have never became the car would have never became the airplane would have never became the spaceship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all of those things were just in someone's head at one point.
Exactly.
Now they're real life. And everybody thought those people were crazy every step of the way. It's fascinating to me that you grew up with a single parent as well, because all three of us
Yes.
in this room are that way. And I don't think that's a coincidence either. I don't know.
No, I don't either.
The energy in this room felt a little similar in that regard, because I think all of us had our a less than ideal upbringing in our own ways. We'll just say that. We'll leave it there. But yeah, I relate to you big time on that.
If I could just mention my favorite quote from Walter E. Disney: "If you could dream it, you could do it." And I always say, not only did I dream it, but I did it. So whatever's in your head, bless you for having that thought in your head. So now go ahead and figure out how to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because clearly it's possible if it's in your head.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so true. Love it. If you
It's
can
going to be
dream it, you can do
scary.
it.
It's going to be overwhelming.
It is.
It's going to be a
It's
lot.
not easy. Life is not easy.
Right. But somebody else has done it before you.
Mm-hmm.
And if they haven't, why you should be the first one to do it.
For sure.
They'll name it after you.
And that
It's
should
not
excite you.
Yeah, it's not a bad problem to have.
Yeah, for sure. I consider you a huge ally in the mission to educate. I say
Likewise.
my slogan is what you'll never learn in school but desperately need to know. And I am so grateful to have met you.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Today's been great.
I don't. That's not my thing. But I think you're awesome. I think you're awesome for sure.
What are we doing on time?
Oh, we're an hour and 7 minutes and 2 seconds in.
Okay.
You want to do we'll do another 20?
I think we should do some more.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the other question that I wanted to ask you was, if you could go back, talk to your 16-year-old self, what piece of advice, wisdom, golden nugget would you try to provide that, as we talked about earlier, I know you don't regret anything, because if you're happy where you are, you're thankful for where you've been because you know it brought you there. But go in a time machine, you talk to yourself at 16, what wisdom would you try to impart?
Yeah, so two things really. The first thing is that everything happens for a reason. And the second thing is patience. Because I come from a very competitive background, being competitive for my whole entire life, I'm always pushing, I'm always grinding. So for me, I expect results right there. So from my 15, 16 self to now, and looking onto what my life is gonna look like, I would just tell myself, be patient. Be patient and be grateful, and take in everything that happens within your life. Because a lot of times, life happens so fast that we're just running with the wind, and we don't take a second to think, life is precious and tomorrow's not guaranteed. So I wish that I would have, before I got so busy in my life, I would have slowed down a little bit and be more patient with my next move. Be patient with spending more, having more quality time as I got older. Yeah, my dad was in a nursing home for 15 years, and every accomplishment I had, whether if it's graduation or my study abroad, going to Costa Rica, Spain, and France, I had to come back and tell him. And although he couldn't talk back to me, So literally, I would tell him these stories, and all he could do was just nod his head and say bien, which is great in Spanish. For some reason, he just couldn't talk back. So, going through that and just being patient. and just enjoying the moment, because life is so fast that, who knows why that happened, right? But I had to take it as a lesson. And so for me, for a long time, I was very, resentful and upset and mad. Why would God do this to me? Like, I need a dad, Why? It made me that much of a stronger person.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it made me go out and find those extra mentors and be the best person that I can. So as I achieve these things, I can come back to my dad and make him proud. So that's kind of like my thing. It's just, appreciate life and just enjoy the ride. And coming onto my, professional life, trusting time and trusting that everything that happens, good and bad, is either a lesson or is going to push you to the next level. And thinking back, I'm like, man, that makes sense. That makes sense. So whatever happens in my life, I never take it as, man, I suck. Man, I'm not good enough. I always take it as, you know what? There's a reason for that. So I'm going to be sad or upset for whatever reason for that moment, but I'm going to take this as a lesson. And that has made me such a happier person that I literally can't even tell you how many times in a year I'm ever upset or mad. I feel like I'm always happy. I feel like I'm always high on life. Yeah. So, there's nothing better to just enjoy and just appreciate life.
Beautiful.
That was so good.
That was so good.
Yeah.
I think what you said is, or what you said about things are going to happen to you, right? They're going to happen to you. Bad things are going to happen to you.
You can't control it.
My buddy called me the other day, and he's like, hey, I really want to focus on talking more to you. Like, in the middle of the week, I just want to call you and talk to you, because when I talk to you, I'm happier. Okay, cool. I'm awesome. I am awesome. I know. I know. Get in line.
Yeah.
No. But, and him saying that was huge for me. Like, cool. Like, I'm glad you value me that much. But one of the things I said to him was, look, maybe things in your life are out of your control. Maybe you have circumstances that you didn't create, but they're part of your story. Exactly. So you either figure them out or you use them as an excuse for the rest of your life. You choose. Yeah. It's up to you.
They shape you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's up to you. You can do with that whatever you want, but I'm not going to be here saying, oh, yeah, it's okay to do less because you're dealing with this. If you want to be successful, if you want to be happy, you better dig in and go.
Find a way to grow from it.
That's it.
Because, when we're not growing, I looked back, I was talking to Kevin about this on the way here. I got a new phone yesterday. And I'm going through sort of a year in review by going through all of my photos. I have 20,000 photos on that phone that's on iCloud now. And I can't believe, I said the word can't. I struggle to believe that I've grown that much in 1 year. It's crazy. Because honestly, I'm taking an insane productivity course by one of my heroes. His name is Darren Hardy. I told you about my favorite book of all time, The Compound Effect, which she took a screenshot of. That's what I love. You can recognize a leader when they are a reader, and they're like, let me get that. I was like, yes, love it. But anyways, so there's this part in that program where he says your adversity is actually your advantage, and the reason is because it created the emotional training ground to go out and do extraordinary things that ordinary people just cannot do. Like, we want to build our biceps in the gym. First you start with 5 pounds, then 10 pounds, then 15 pounds, then 20 pounds, then 25 pounds. Our emotions are a muscle too. And those dark moments that we have, that we grow from each and every time, now allow us to have the emotional power to create things that other people look at and they go, how do they make that look so easy? When in reality, it's some of the darkest times.
Exactly.
I mean, I've had some moments in my life wholeheartedly, like, I want to be a millionaire. I'll just say it. Self-made millionaire, no question. I am telling you, there are some moments in my life that I can guarantee you were harder to get through than I think it is going to be to make $1 million. There are some moments I didn't know I'd make it through. Emotionally, those moments that just you never, ever want to go back there, but you do know that it's possible. And I think that when you go through enough of those and get out on the other side better, it teaches your brain that you can do anything. Yeah. If I can get through that, I can get through anything.
If I could just add?
Yeah.
Adversity develops grit.
Greatness.
Grit.
Okay.
Grit is no matter what obstacle comes your way, you will get through it.
Yeah.
It's that when you're at your lowest and you have obstacles, hitting you left and right, you're gonna get up no matter what because you have that strength. You have that mentality that I'm gonna get up no matter what.
Yeah.
But if you don't have grit, when you get knocked down, you don't get up. So adversity, whether if it's family issues or personal issues or emotional issues, that builds character. That builds grit. And so when you come across another obstacle, ain't nothing gonna stop you.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing's
Yeah.
gonna stop you. Why? Because you already went through it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've been through bigger and bigger and stronger issues. Now, when you come across something more minuscule, you're gonna be like, I got this.
Yeah, yeah.
But somebody else
Yeah.
might come across that small issue, and it's the end of the world for them.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
crazy how the toughest time actually create the strongest version of you.
But
It
how
does.
do you? So, like you said, somebody might come across the same thing, and that might cripple them.
Oh, of course.
How do you
Make sure that
make
you
sure
aren't
it doesn't?
crippled.
So we always say you either put up or shut up.
So I think that the great analogy here is, let's say we're training our biceps and we bite off more than we can chew, and we do 20s right out of the gate, and we tear a muscle. Now we're out for 4 months. I think that all of us have painful moments. It's when you live in them and don't grow through each one of them and level up through each one of them. I think that when something really bad happens, it can be crippling. So that's a great question. How do we make sure? Because there are moments in my life that almost killed me emotionally. Seriously. I mean, I don't even want to get into it. But I do know that those shaped me into being just a version. I always say diamonds are shaped by pressure. I've been put under immense pressure where if I don't get this result right now, people I love will die. And I've gone through that so many times. So now everything else seems easy in comparison. And then people are like, oh, you make that look so easy. It's like, well, honestly, compared to what I've been through,
Right.
it
Right.
kind of is.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, we still have the tough times. But how do we make sure that, like you said, those moments aren't crippling and that they are empowering? Like, what made the difference? What made it empowering?
I feel like you have to be willing to use it as fuel and not as a weight holding you back. I think that's it.
But how?
You either feel sorry for yourself or you feel motivated.
Well, another thing is not taking everything personal. So, like, if you fail at something, don't take it personal. Say, man, I'm not good enough. Because when people go through that and they put themselves down, they knock themselves out of the park. So for me, I've gone through things with this organization, being a brand new, young organization where at first I feared getting no's. I feared applying for a grant or, communicating with a foundation.
Yep.
I'm like, man, hearing a no to me would break my heart.
Yeah.
And when I got those no's, I did get down. I did say, man, should I even do this? Like, what do you mean they don't see the vision? What do you mean they don't see the impact? But you know what? Again, everything happens in its own time. And I had to learn that when I hear a no, that just means that I'm not ready yet. Because, for example, in December, right, I applied for a big grant, actually. And I'm like, man, we had a crazy year. There's no way that this foundation is going to say no to us. There's no way whatsoever. And I got the no. And I'm just like, what? And you know what? Because I have that new mentality, I'm like, it's all good. 2 weeks later, we get this big sponsorship from Microsoft out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Now we have a van to bring our kids to college tours. We have 8 brand new laptops. We have 2 tablets and $1,000 to support gas and maintenance. But I wasn't even anticipating that. So that was just a blessing from the sky telling me, man, you might not be ready this year, but next year.
Oh, yeah.
You never know what next year might bring. So just be ready. Just keep pushing because you might get no's, but it's okay.
Yeah,
See you later.
You got to keep going,
Oh, yeah.
regardless.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I was telling you about that on the phone yesterday. I'm like, honestly, a lot of things have fallen through that I had planned for January.
And
I don't
it's
even.
okay.
I even told Kevin, I'm like, I'm at the point now where I'm just gonna go with or without anyone. Like, this is
Exactly.
happening no matter
Right.
what. Get on board or not. It's up to you. 'Cause
I like to
this
use,
game train never stops.
The Justin Wren incident. So
Oh yeah.
I was talking to Andrew Copeland, a good friend of ours, and he said, who was your dream guest on the podcast? And I said, Justin Wren. Justin Wren is a MMA fighter who is also a philanthropist. He goes to the Congo and builds water wells for pygmies. Like, what?
Yeah.
For months at a time.
Yeah.
Giant. He's like 6'4", 265 pounds. He has this giant beard. Nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
The next day after I said, that's my dream podcast, he posted up on Instagram, I will be accepting 40 interviews.
What?
I got one of them.
Woo, he was so excited.
So, yeah.
yeah, here we go.
Trust me. That's where the goodness
the balloon
ends.
is inflating.
So,
Okay.
from this crappy hotel room in New Jersey, I do a phone interview with him.
Killed it.
Great interview.
Killed
awesome.
it. Killed it.
The quality of it was terrible.
The audio quality.
The audio quality.
Literally unusable.
I couldn't use it.
Yeah.
Couldn't use it. So I thought this is where everything's gonna happen. And I won't lie, it definitely it definitely hit me hard, and it definitely slowed me down a little bit. But we're still here.
Yeah.
We're still getting after it.
Yep.
We're gonna do 52 podcasts this week.
This
And
year.
This year.
What did I say? This week? It's gonna be a
52
busy.
this week.
It's gonna be a busy week. But I get to sit down with awesome people like you and this guy. But it's if I quit then,
Yeah.
that's what I would have known. Podcasting to me would have been a giant swing and a miss, and it's not.
And that's just the peak of the iceberg.
Right.
There's so much more. to
Right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And honestly, that's failures are going to happen. You screwed up and you learned from it, and you're going to make damn sure that never happens again.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, I always use my first fitness show as that. I told everyone I'd come in first. I told everyone I was going to kill it. I came in 5th out of 6 people. The only person I beat was like in his 50s. And good for him because he was in great shape, the best shape of his life. But I did get a trophy, but it might as well have been a participation award. And I always say that I told everyone I was going to win. I worked out as hard as I could, but I was kind of arrogant about it. And honestly, that hurt. I invited everybody out, my family. I felt like I let everyone else down, and myself, and that I let my arrogance get the best of me. And I could have very easily decided, like men's physique isn't for me. I made a different decision. And this is, I think, making sure it's not crippling. I made a different decision. I said, next year, no matter what, I'm taking this thing. 365 days straight, I envisioned taking home that trophy. And I took it home.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I took it home.
Nice.
Yeah, and I did that same thing this year. After winning, it was a little harder to get that because that drive. But I'm competing again in June for my pro card. And honestly, if I keep working the way I'm working, when I keep working the way I'm working,
Yeah, you gotta change that language.
Exactly, change that language.
It's huge.
I will take home the W again. And I think a lot I people get that first failure, that big failure, where they have a dream podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And they kill it. You killed the interview. I
Oh,
heard
yeah.
it, but then I couldn't hear him at all. And I had to tell Kevin straight up, like, I don't know if that's even usable, and that hurts. But you could have decided podcasting isn't me.
Right.
It's not my thing.
I will have him on this podcast again.
You damn right.
And it will be great.
And it will
again.
be, yeah.
And it will
It
be
will
usable.
happen.
Yeah.
this time. I promise that.
The audio quality will be better than
Justin,
ever.
I'm coming for you.
And honestly, you bought all this equipment. Maybe you wouldn't have as quickly if it wasn't for that happening.
Right.
Because you needed to make sure the quality was on point after that.
Yep.
Like, just like losing that first show, I was so fired to win the next one. So I think that when you mention grit is deciding that if this is for me, and I know that in my heart, no matter what it takes,
You're gonna go for it.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And you know what? That unfortunate event, it's a lesson. It's waking you up right now. So
Yep.
hey, you have this podcast, journey. You better get your ish
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
You better get your
You know what I
ass
mean?
in gear,
Because you
man.
literally lost a really good interview.
Yeah.
So now, I don't know what you had before, but you're clearly ready for the next one.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe you wouldn't have been without that. So
Right.
I think
And then-
failure is a necessary part of the process.
And then I like to mention that as you were setting up, I saw you like going back and forth, like making sure that everything was perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
part of the
I'm like, man,
overthinking.
Yeah.
I wanted to set something up, but this guy kept going back and forth, sitting
Thorough.
down, like
Thorough.
like you really dot your T's and cross your I's.
I appreciate
and,
that very much.
and it's really inspiring.
I appreciate that very
Oh,
much.
thank you so
I'd like to
much.
ask one question because you guys kept asking me so many questions.
Nope.
But
Love it.
Close
I'm
the
gonna
question.
turn-
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn on you guys. What is your why to be successful?
Oh, so I crave stability. My whole life growing up, there was limited amounts of it. So I want to be successful so I can be stable, and I want to be the father that I didn't have. I want to have a daughter and a son, and I want them to have the life I didn't have. I want them to know that when Daddy says he's going to do something, Daddy does it. Yeah, that's me.
Amen.
So for me, my father passed away when I was 2. I know that I would not be who I am if it weren't for specific people who really, really believed in me at my darkest moments. And it really, really, I think that I've suffered a ton through some really difficult things in my childhood that I see people suffering a lot with their health, with their lack of self-confidence within themselves. And it definitely is something that I can relate to. And there are times in my life where I really, really took it for granted. And I almost lost some of the things most dear to me, including my own life. And I just vouched after I had a second chance, third chance, to never take it for granted again. And I think that I've been blessed. I mean, I could name all of my blessings. I mean, I'm just this brain. I can remember quotes on quotes on quotes. I can recite movies after seeing them twice. I have a photographic memory. I mean, I just was blessed. And honestly, I took those blessings for granted for far too long by drinking too much booze, by following the footsteps of the wrong people, by being in the wrong rooms, and not taking the advice of others and being arrogant. And I just want to make sure that no one else suffers needlessly because they didn't have someone to believe in them and someone to guide them in a direction that they want them to go in. And I want to make sure that I can be that mentor for the nation and the world's youth, which we have very similar missions. So I consider you an ally in it. That's why we're sitting here, to be honest.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely meant to be.
Deep.
Yeah.
Just went deep there.
Yeah, man.
Well, I can tell when you go deep because you don't look at anybody. You look away. That's when you're like in flow. You don't look at anybody. You look away. Because I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Because you like, I want to see it. I want to feel it. If I'm talking about it, I want to feel it.
Yeah.
Which is weird. I kind of like to suffer almost. A little bit. But I think that's the most genuine way to do it. Like, I could sugarcoat it, but it's like some things suck. Some things hurt.
It's real.
You know?
It's real stuff, man.
Yeah. And that's what changes people.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Great questions are everything.
Questions are
you know,
everything.
because they get you to dig into stuff that you didn't even really know was still there.
And finding people open enough to answer them.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Because you're putting yourself out there. You know?
Well,
no
for
judgment.
me personally, I'm just, super interested on, what drives people.
Yeah.
What drives you to wake up in the morning and do what you do.
Yeah.
And create aggressive goals like 52 podcasts in a year and, going after your entrepreneurial, journey and jumping off your, hopefully one day you'll be your own boss and jump off that cliff. So what drives you and why are you doing that?
Just to clarify, it's a metaphorical cliff.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe not.
Yeah, we're not encouraging him to jump off any
They weren't here for the preamble. Yeah, we did catch up before the podcast. I also, your mission is you have a lot of clarity in why you do what you do. And that's something that I find common in people who are living for something bigger than themselves is they have a lot of clarity. Usually they suffered a lot. Usually they have life or death situations, which I don't want to go out on a limb and assume that you do, but I do notice that as a common pattern in people that live intentionally and have big missions. So usually they suffered a lot. Usually they took their life for granted a bit and had a life or death situation, and then they vouched never to go back. And then on top of that, they're very, very crystal clear on who they are and who they want to be. I think you are that way for sure.
Yeah, and I think for me, having whatever happened to my dad at a young age, it made me realize at a young age that life is fragile, and it's damn, all of the things that I wanted to do with him, I couldn't even experience it. One day when I get married, he won't be there. He passed away 3 years ago. Actually, it'll be 4 years this year. So, having that empty hole, it really, drives me to really take advantage of life. And you know what, at the end of the day, my why, aside from making my mom proud every day and being that, that role model for kids, but I'm doing it for him. I want to make him proud, because he wasn't able to see that. I'm the youngest of 7. So, I was his baby. So for me, my why is just making the world proud and being that
he would be proud for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
You writing a book anytime?
I'm writing a book, actually.
I knew it.
Yes.
I love being right.
You've been right this whole time. Kind of creepy.
You'll get used to it. You'll get used to it.
Yes, I'm writing a book. It should be done early spring. It's called Success Shield. Metaphoric.
Okay.
Speaking that it's this book where it's primarily being written for our youth, but it's written professionally enough for young professionals. So with this book, I plan to continue to go to colleges and high schools because I want this book to be a physical shield that when you read this book, mentally, physically, emotionally, you will have this shield that no matter what anyone says to you, no matter what obstacles come your way, I'm going to help you create this shield that no matter what you put your mind to it, you are going to accomplish it, no matter what. And that's the importance of the book.
I love
it.
it.
To develop and protect your mind.
I would like an autographed
your
copy,
destiny.
please.
Yeah.
Autographed copy.
Kevin always asking for what he can get.
You got one.
No,
I want the first
One
one.
would be great. We should speak together at colleges for sure.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do
I'll
it.
flex on the side. I'll just flex
Yeah,
on.
and Kevin
Well,
will come in and
and-
talk
and
about calories in versus calories out.
Eat like shit.
Yeah.
Eat less than you need.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because, and I'll say this because I think this is a great time to say it, but I feel like speakers and even authors are, I feel like more in like competition. Like I feel like a lot of speakers do not collaborate, and I'm really happy that you mentioned that.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, if we go out and inspire, because clearly we're on the same, you know, road, you know, there's audiences like males that you can reach.
That
and there's females that I can reach.
Yep.
We have the same vision and goal and kind of mentality that
Yep.
if we partner up and either speak together to the same crowd, but you know, down the road, if we can, you know, be creative in the sense where we can reach more
For sure.
by using our qualities
sure.
and our characteristics, that is like we can go further together
Yep.
than you doing your thing over there and I'm doing my thing over
Your
there.
success is not my detriment ever.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And honestly, people that resonate with me may not resonate with you and vice
And
versa.
vice versa.
That's why we do the joint
Right.
podcast. It's a win-win-win-win-win. And honestly, I study quantum physics. It's very clear in that. And one more thing I do want to say too is like to people out there, like someone else's success is not your detriment. It is not a zero-sum game. We're not at a poker
Exactly.
table where you have to lose money for someone else to win money.
Exactly,
That is just not
exactly.
how it works.
No.
Trust me.
Especially if they're in your group.
Oh,
You
for
want
sure.
your
If they're
group
on
to
your
do
team,
well.
yeah, you want everyone on your team
Right.
to be. I'm going to quote Matt Ryan
Oh,
here.
boy.
He said, "I won't stop till my whole team is rich and ripped."
Matt Ryan, shout out.
Yeah, Matt Ryan, shout out. But seriously, like ships in the same harbor rise and fall together, and I think it would be insane for us not to work together because we're so similar in our mission, but yet we have different messages that will resonate with different people.
Exactly. And I'll say it, man, this didn't happen by accident.
Oh, for sure, it didn't. Yeah. Yep.
For sure.
What do we think?
Do you have anything you want to say? Anything you want to plug before we go?
Yeah, feel free to plug your
make sure you
social
plug your-
media,
yeah,
your
so people
top
know where to
notch-
find you.
Yep.
Yeah, my social media is at Joanna de Pena, so JoannaDepena on everything.
Easy enough.
Love it.
Right on.
Awesome.
All right, ladies and gents, we want to thank you very much for sitting down with us today. And we learned a lot about ourselves. We learned a lot about one another. And I think this conversation definitely changed and shaped my life.
For sure.
Likewise.
I hope everybody gets something out of it. And we went hyper-conscious.
Love it. Beautiful things. Thanks, everybody.
Greatness.
And we are signing off.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.